No.
Yo, what is up, everybody? This is TPL Live. Today, we are doing a Sixers season preview of my man, Matisse Thybulle. Before we get into the introductions and get this show rolling, guys, let's take care of some business. If you're new to the channel, please be sure to like. Please be sure to subscribe. Please be sure to comment. These shows are all about fan interaction. So please react to our points, agree or disagree. We want to hear you in that comment section. And next up, guys, we have, if you're a fan of the Philadelphia Flyers and you love hockey, the Flyered Up podcast is going live tonight at 8 p.m. East Coast time. They're going to do a breakdown on Phil Myers, his recent 3-year contract, and just talk about the announcement of the NHL start date this season. So please be sure to check that out, 8 p.m. And lastly, I want to give a shout out to my man, Rob, my co-host of the Party on Broad podcast. He's debuted this morning, The Voice of the People. That show just came out. If you don't like Howie Roseman or John Middleton or Doug Peterson, and a lot of people don't, you're going to love that show. I promise you. Go check it out here at the Painted Lines YouTube channel. All right, let's get this show rolling. Today, we are breaking down Matisse Thybulle. We're going to grade his performance last season. We're going to discuss areas he needs to improve upon and really break down our expectations this season for 2021. Let's introduce my man, Jason. You know him on Twitter at JBlevinsNBA. What's up, Jason?
How you doing?
Let's go.
It's a great night. It's just now getting dark, so spent all day outside. Very good stuff.
Very good, very good. Also joining us today is my man, Justin. You know him on Twitter at J_Persecony. What's up, man?
What's up, guys? I'm excited to be here talking about Matisse Thybulle. Here we go.
Here we go, man. We're like just a few days away from the first preseason game. It's wild. It's wild. It's good to talk about not the Eagles, essentially. Also joining us today is my man, Joey. Follow him on Twitter at JoeyD_6. How you doing, Joey?
I had my volume on max, so that intro just destroyed my ears. But let's do this.
All right. Let's get into Matisse Thybulle. Let's talk about his 2019-2020 season and give a grade. It was really a tale of two seasons for Matisse last season. At first, like our first glimpse of Matisse was like his terrific defense that he displayed during the preseason. I don't know if you guys remember that, the steals, the blocks, the opener versus the Boston Celtics. You knew just after like one game, after one preseason, that this guy was an impact defender. You saw this guy kind of get thrown into the fire against Kemba Walker, Trae Young. He really held his own. He turned some heads. He had some flashy dunks. But you talk about his start where he shot 42.8% from three between October and December. And this guy looked like a surefire rotation player. There was even a 14-game stretch for Matisse where he shot a ridiculous 56.4% from three between November 27th and December 21st. Then, like everything fucking else on this planet in 2020 happened. And he just hit that wall. And you just saw it, especially from his consistency from that perimeter. This guy shot 25.3% from three during the second half of the season. He missed the last 23 games due to a knee sprain. His efficiency and aggressiveness dipped. He averaged 1.8 points per game and nearly 19 points per game in the playoffs versus the Celtics. And he shot just 1 for 4 from three during versus the Boston Celtics. I personally thought he did a great job versus Jason Tatum when he did, but you just saw that his offense was just completely non-existent, and it was almost unable to be played. He wasn't that playmaker the Sixers really needed last season, but overall, I thought it was a fairly successful season for Matisse Thybulle. He showed he's a legit defensive player. He's a defensive weapon on the perimeter. He's the guy who knocked down 37.1% of his catch and shoot opportunities with the Sixers, which is absolutely key to play next to Ben and Joel. And look at these stats. Look at these stats, guys. He was the 7th player in NBA history and the first rookie to play at least 1,000 minutes in the season and post steal and block percentages of 3.0 or higher. Matisse was the only player on the list classified as a guard, and his block percentage was also the 2nd highest in NBA history for a player 6'5" or smaller who played at least 1,000 minutes. He was tied for the league lead, having blocked 16 opposing 3-point attempts. I give him a solid B. What about you, Jason?
I think B is about right. There's a lot of good stuff that he brought to the table, especially early in that season. That I think some of the drop off is that natural, like he woke so many people up in the league that they started the game plan for him. They started to really coach their players what to look for. So some of the gambling things that he got away with in that first month wound up hurting the team in some ways, because once you're on the radar of the opposing team, really smart point guards can bait you into mistakes, and I think that's part of it. But there's so much that you hoped he could be when he was drafted that I think he proved that is legit. And the couple of things that you're really worried about, his ability to put the ball on the floor and his ability to shoot from 3, he answered one of the two, because I think he is a better shooter than we thought when he was drafted. Now, he's still got some real challenges putting the ball on the floor, decision-making. He's got quite a steep negative assist-to-turnover ratio and percentages. So it can't be an A, but I think B is right around where it should be.
We have Simon joining, says, Matisse' shooting better get better this season. We're going to talk about areas he needs to improve. So stay tuned, Simon. We're going to get into that very soon. What about you, Justin? How would you grade Matisse last season?
I think Tease, I would probably give him a B. I feel like Tease did exactly what we expected of him, to be honest. Like, coming in the league, I think everyone expected him to be a good defender, maybe not as good as he ended up being. I think the 3-point shots that he was making at a pretty high percentage for what we believed he was going to do was kind of a plus. So, but I think it can't be an A just because of the fact that he did dip off a little bit throughout the season, because I think it was when he got injured. When he got injured, right when he came back from that injury, he was kind of out of sync with the team at that point. You noticed his jump shot was off, and he couldn't really find it for a bit. So hopefully coming into the season, we'll see a little bit more. But all around, I would say probably a B.
All right. I think we're all roughly in that B range. I think that's pretty awesome. Joe, you're back.
Yeah.
You good, bro? How would you grade Matisse?
So, yeah, I think a B is a probably solid grade to give him. So I think he already showed that he's a pretty elite perimeter defender, even just as a rookie. So he led all rookies in steals per game, total steals. The total steals, he was actually 15th in the league overall. And he also led in deflections per game and total deflections. And he was also 4th in total blocks per game. So the defense is clearly there. And as Jason pointed out, he did have his rookie moments when he got goaded into, getting into early fouls and just sort of making the typical rookie mistakes. But he already showed, he has insanely quick hands, great at anticipating plays. He's always getting his hands in the passing lanes, and he hustles his butt off as well. And obviously offensively, still limited. He was mostly just, spot up duties and hung around the perimeter. He's an RA playmaker. And of course he has butterfingers for hands with his handle. But overall, I think, what you're going to get with him, an elite wing defender who will just sort of hang around the perimeter and just take threes. And that's probably what he's going to be this season as well.
Yeah, when I think of Matisse Thybulle, I think of our NBA draft victory party at Victory Brewery down in, what was that? I forget where that was, but Kenneth Square, yes. And I was on the Matisse Thybulle train, and I wanted the Sixers so badly to draft this guy. And I remember just being so excited at the time when they picked him. We've got a comment, should he start? We're going to get into our season expectations very soon. Trust me, we're going to talk about that very, very soon. Let's talk about areas to improve. This isn't rocket science. I think this guy simply needs to become a more consistent shooter. If he can become that reliable knockdown three-point shooter, along with his defensive versatility, like Matisse has a real spot in this league. What about you, Jason? What does this guy need to improve upon this coming season?
He should live with a basketball, and we've seen some TikTok videos of him dribbling during the pandemic in lockdown, but like he should be living with a basketball in his hands, just getting that touch and that feel, because that's what he lacks. You know, he is a fantastic. I almost equate it to Nerlens Noel, where he's got really quick hands, but really not soft hands. And he's got to develop a feel for how that ball feels coming off the ground, many different angles, just dribble the hell out of the basketball constantly, develop that side of it, because I think that unlocks his attacking closeouts. It unlocks his ability to get better angles, to become a better passer. Being more sure with the ball in your hands makes you a better passer, because you're not constantly reaching to get it comfortable. So, you know, he's just a guy that's got to work on his handle. What
about you, Justin?
Yeah, I mean, improvements, like you said, obvious, like become a better shooter, because that's what this team needs more than anything. I noticed little sparks last year of like spots where he could actually go off the dribble a little bit as well. So I think that could be interesting, because there was some step backs he was hitting. There was a little bit of drive into the basket that I saw. So like he looks like he can definitely grow his game more. So I don't know. I think the most thing that's going to help the team is the obvious, and that shooting. But I would really like to see him be able to like make some plays off the dribble eventually.
Joey.
Yeah, I mean, just everything that we've talked about to this point. Just tighten his handle. I mean, no one's asking him to be Kyrie with his handles. Just, you know, work on it to the point where you can attack closeouts better and just get to the rim as a whole, and just be more consistent from three-point range. I mean, as we saw, he had an overall solid season shooting it from deep, but it came in spurts throughout the whole year. So I would expect a little more consistency on that end. And one thing I would love to see him do this season, I'd love to see him act as a cutter in half-court sets. It was a small sample size, but he ranked pretty high as a cutter this past season. And with his athleticism and bounce and, you know, relatively decent instincts, I really think he could thrive as a cutter.
And that's the way to attack the closeout without the ball in your hands, is to present yourself as open, bait the defender into coming out at you before the pass and then hitting the back door. And that way you don't have to do as much with the ball when they start to respect your three-point line. You create spacing for a Ben Simmons while also making the defense pay for coming out. So those are the kind of things that you really think he's got huge upside with. If he really gets good at catching the baseline lobs on the baseline cuts, you know, that's a way he can really elevate his output.
And you noticed some of that last year as well, and it looked good. Like, and I honestly, that's something that I wanted to see more of as well. And I was kind of surprised that Brett wasn't trying to get him more involved in that way, especially when his shots were a little bit off at times. So I think that's going to be exciting, especially because this year Doc has come out and talked about, and even other players have talked about them working on cutting, timely cutting and everything. And I think he's going to be one of those impact players in that position.
I think last year, for the first time really in Brett Brown's tenure, they really tried to do things to cut down on turnovers.
Mm-hmm.
And that's one of those things where your timing has to be perfect. If you're going to rely on lobs, you have to have two people that really are locked in with each other. And for a rookie, that's probably something that gave Brett heartburn. But it's huge. It's huge potential that you can unlock if you're willing to take some of those risks.
All right, we have MPC Smith 1 is joining, says thanks for the Sixers talk, guys. Thank you for joining. Vasilios, one of our regulars, thanks for joining, man. Starting lineup: Ben, Curry, Matisse, Harris, and Joel. We're gonna get into that very, very soon. Thanks for joining. Yams is back. I once knew a Yam from Nantucket. And he goes, TJ's shortened offseason and pandemic definitely aren't going to help Matisse. All right. I think he can learn from Danny Green and be the next prime three. That is my biggest takeaway. I'm going to get into that very, very soon in terms of 2021 expectations. And what we need for this guy is just to be a good fourth guy going into the future with Ben and Joel doing most of the work on offense. And let's get into that. 2021 expectations. I'm really interested to see how Matisse is utilized under Doc Rivers. Brett Brown often used this guy, typically running off screens, dribble handoffs with the trailing defender. My expectations for Matisse Thybulle is essentially what Danny Green gives the Sixers moving forward. The hope is Thybulle becomes a spot starter, provides a versatile two-way player, knocks down perimeter jumpers, shoots 40% from three, and Danny Green is that perfect mentor for Matisse Thybulle as he develops into his second NBA season. And Danny Green said it himself recently. He said, my job is to come here, help these young guys and some of the experienced guys to teach them and give them a winning atmosphere, the winning culture, and building that. So I don't want to make this about Danny Green, but Green was a very productive player on title teams that played against such stars as like Tim Duncan, LeBron James, Anthony Davis, Kawhi Leonard. This is a guy who knows exactly how to maximize his specific skill set, his specialized abilities in a supporting role. And that is exactly what I want to see from Matisse Thybulle as he tries to take that next step into 2021. And I also want to see Matisse kind of continue to be that animal on the perimeter. This is a guy who had a very solid 2.6 deflections per game in 2019, 2020. I want to see that number go into the low threes. Get under the ROCO numbers. That would be very, very solid. Let's do this in reverse. What about you, Joey? What are your 2021 expectations for Matisse Thybulle?
I mean, nothing too, vastly different from what he did this past year. I think his role is probably still going to be the same. Spot up from outside, attack closeouts when you're able to, and just and cut whenever when you kind of need to create space for everyone else around him. And obviously defense is still going to be the calling card. I would prefer to have him come off the bench just because I trust Danny Green more at being the veteran presence in that starting lineup. But I mean, Matisse will still be the lead wing defender off of the bench, and he'll get the tough assignments when he needs to. And I expect a little more discipline on the defensive end, on his end, compared to his rookie year, because, we saw that he had the tendency to get himself into foul trouble at the least ideal times. So, and I would expect him to sort of tone down the recklessness a little bit, but not so much to the point, because as we know, when he's getting a little, jumpy on that end, that's sort of when he kind of thrives, just sort of going into a free safety role and just getting into passing lanes and just causing disruption. So nothing too different from last year, but I think just a little more discipline on both ends.
We have Ty joining. I've been very vocal about this offseason with friends. I'm really happy about Dwight Howard signing. It's going to play a huge role in the maturation of Joel Embiid. Ty is joining us tomorrow night for the Eagles versus Saints live stream. And then we have MPC Smith 1 saying, I think the player development coaching staff changes are going to make a huge difference. Jason, what are your thoughts on the coaching and player development changes? That is a great question, MP Smith 1. Now let's get into that. First of all, Justin, where do you want to see Matisse improve upon? What are your expectations in 2021?
Expectations. Something I would like to see is if he can shoot like around that 38%. Now I don't know if that's going to be the case, but if he can hit that mark, I think that'll be just about perfect for him. Obviously, if he could shoot better, amazing. But that's kind of what my expectations are because I think 36%. He was a little bit like his shot was like 36% this season, and he was a little spotty. So I think if he can be more consistent, I think that 38% is a good level for him. Um, I like kind of like Joey said. I don't think he's gonna have any real bigger of a role than he's had this year. So it's gonna be interesting. But I'm wondering what Doc is gonna do with Terrence Ferguson and him coming off the bench with defense.
Okay. What about you, Jason? What's your expectations for Matisse?
I think he can be unleashed a little bit as part of a second unit. It's not really how it plays out, first unit, second unit, but as part of that bench rotation, they when the stars hit the bench, what you're trying to do is maintain the lead that they built for you and not give it away. So you don't want to go on tilt. So a guy like him can really help slow down the opposing team from making big runs. I know it was referred to earlier about him starting. I don't think he's a starter. I don't think philosophically he fits the archetype of what they're trying to build. Danny Green should absolutely be his benchmark. But really, it's like if you can shoot league average from three and you play really good defense and you can really take away the other team's bigger two guards or small forwards, then you have a real place and a real role to help a team win. Those are the only expectations. Does he play more than the 19 minutes or so that he played last year? I don't know. Some nights he will. Does he play less? I think some nights he's going to play less than 20 minutes. Yeah, for sure. So it's just, can you give league average catch and shoot from three? And can you create a little bit of havoc and slow down teams from making any big runs on you when your starters are on the bench?
Ty Book says Green's ability to play on both ends is huge. Playoff experience too. That mentorship between Danny Green and Matisse Thybulle was one to watch. A super fun, low key storyline going on this preseason. Let's go. I want to go back to this, Jason. This was a really interesting question. Where are we at with player development and coaching staff? Do we know anything? Is Connor Johnson returning? Like, where's the nuts and bolts of the development and coaching staff for the Sixers?
So it's a good question. I don't think Connor is returning. I've heard nothing to that effect. They're really close-lipped around even if they're going to the bubble in Atlanta with the G League team. So when you look at some of the assistants, you've got Dave Yorger running the defense. You have Sam Cassell, who is really the guards mentor assistant, and then you've got Popeye Jones, who is kind of the bigs assistant for development. These guys that are in that little middle zone of the wing defender 3-and-D, I don't know who's going to work with them day to day, but you're probably thinking that Danny Green is a leader by example, and he's somebody that the coaches just say, watch everything he does, follow him around like Landry Shamet did with JJ Redick when he was a rookie here.
Yep.
Follow him around, do everything he does, copy that. And Shamet learned a lot more from JJ Redick than he learned from any of the assistant coaches. And he talked about that. So I think, he does fit in a little bit of a zone of it's not really a position that they have as far as I know, a coach for. But they certainly have a good archetype for him to follow in Green.
So we have a ton of great coaches: Dave Yeager, Sam Cassell, Dan Burke. And then Chris Coyle says, I would love to see a decrease in the relaxed defense. Would love to see Matisse start beating people to their spots rather than him getting beat and make a defensive play from behind. I personally, let's talk about minutes, because that is like the big question going into the season for Matisse. This guy averaged almost 20 minutes per game last season. I personally see Matisse as that like first part off the bench, that first bench rotation alongside Shake Milton and Dwight Howard. I really want to see like a Shake, Seth, and Matisse, and Ben and Dwight Howard kind of lineup. I think that is going to be really, really fun to watch. I think Matisse playing alongside Ben, though, is the key here. I think it takes pressure off of Ben Simmons. It allows Ben to be more versatile in the lineup offensively and defensively. It lets Matisse kind of defend the primary offensive weapon on the other team. What are your expectations, Joey, for minutes per game for Matisse Thybulle?
Yeah, I think just right around 20 minutes a game, he'll be. I mean, I don't know if he'll probably be third in line behind, like a Shake or Dwight. He'll probably be. I mean, I think it would be safe to say that he'd be ahead of a Tyrese Maxey in the rotation to start off. That could change down the road, and I feel like it'll all be very matchups dependent. If they need more ball handling on any given night, Maxey might be in front of him coming off the bench. But I think he'll probably be right around the 20-minute mark that he was at last year.
Justin?
So I want to ask a question. Are we considering him as a shooting guard, or are we considering him as a small forward? What are we like?
No, he's a 3-and-D specialist,
Gotcha.
Floor spacer. He's gonna matchups will dictate where he defends.
Yeah. See, and that my reason for asking that is because I think it's really going to be dependent on whether he's going to be having minutes in front of, say, Korkmaz and Terrence Ferguson, like those guys that maybe can bring a little bit more offense right now. Is going to really depend on matchups, like you were saying. So it's going to be interesting to me how it goes throughout the year. Like if we're playing the Celtics, I think he's getting a lot more minutes. I think he's going to be one of the guys that's out there a lot. But if we're playing a team like the Wizards, who may have, I guess that's a bad example because now they have Russell Westbrook. But I don't know. I think it depends, really. But I think he'll probably hover around the same minutes altogether.
All right. What about you, Jason? Where do you see Matisse Thybulle's minutes this year?
I think Justin nailed it. There's that sort of trio that on any given night you're gonna throw that guy out there, and that's either Furkan if you really want spacing and offense. The other two guys, Terrence Ferguson and Matisse, in my view, you make those two guys, you unlock their ability to just be crazed, frenetic, crazy, out of control defenders. As long as they're not getting you killed on backdoors and just blow-bys and things like that, but you let them and be as aggressive as possible. As long as you have both of them, you essentially have 12 fouls that you can give while you try to really lock the other team up, put the other team on tilt, and create easy offense in transition with turnovers. So where does he end up? I think he ends up around if he can be a 36+% three-point shooter for the first 2 months, I think he ends up around 24 minutes per game, because I think he will give you enough of what Furkan gives to eat into some of those minutes when they need a spacer. If he struggles and he's really uneven, then he's going to be in the 18-19 minute per game. If you just look at the way this team is constructed, like there's only so many minutes for the defense only wing on this team.
I'm more in that like 15 to 19 range. That's where I see Matisse, at least starting out. I want to be do you guys remember Corey Brewer and how big of a spark that guy was for the Sixers? No, that guy was so much fun to watch. He had so much energy. I want Matisse to be like a rich man's Corey Brewer. Corey Brewer played around like 15 minutes and was just a pure spark plug. If Matisse can be that dog on defense, but also not hurt you offensively and be like a basically neutral on offensively, I think that's a win. Where should we go from here? Anyone have any final thoughts or any other questions regarding Matisse Thybulle's second season? Justin, you're muted.
I do have a final thought. For everyone who agrees with us that his minutes per game are going to be somewhere between 15 and 24 minutes per game, if you agree with that premise, then please don't call him untouchable in trade negotiations, because nobody that plays less than 24 minutes per game is untouchable, period. Right. If somebody isn't someone you count on for 32 plus minutes, they are absolutely part of trade discussions. You want to sell high on guys that have flash potential before they've gotten into real game plans where their weaknesses become exploited. And this is exactly the period of time where you can sell high on a guy like this. So as much as we love him, don't consider him untouchable.
This was the exact Landry Shamet situation. That's exactly what happened to him as well.
Yep.
Same thing.
Exactly.
Yeah, yep. Matisse, of all people on this team, Matisse should not be considered untouchable in any circumstances whatsoever.
Yep. And that's not, if you see him included in potential trades, it's not a knock on him. It's not that we don't like what he does. It's not anything against him. It's almost a validation that he's really arrived in the league and has real value. So
yeah. He should not take it as an insult. It's an absolute compliment, because teams would love to acquire a guy like him, and he should be sort of flattered that so many teams would want him, because didn't they have to come out and explicitly say that Matisse is sort of off the table, or a little bit, because so many teams were asking about him.
And maybe last year, but I don't think did that happen last year?
I thought I saw.
It happened this fall. Yeah, Joey's right. There was a couple of things that said they don't consider, and I think that was part of the posturing with maybe Chicago and some of those discussions, or maybe teams wanted to throw in with the Horford deal or something like that.
Yeah.
But look, when they do a consolidation trade, he is one of those shiny young pieces that other teams are going to want. Just is.
Houston wants a young asset, and he is an absolute young asset. So,
and also being that our best player or our second best player is, you could pretty much say he's the best perimeter defender in the league right now. At least I would say that, Ben Simmons. Yeah. Like it's a position of what his strong suit is that is kind of expendable in a way, rather than a guy like Tyrese Maxey or Shake Milton, who are both also young guys that have good potential right now, but their best assets are what the Sixers desperately need next to their stars. So it makes more sense for Matisse to be that guy that could be let go.
Yep, 100%.
I fully agree. I'm not. There's no hesitation when it comes to putting Matisse Thybulle in a potential trade package for James Harden. That is a really interesting question that leads into Tyrese Maxey and where his minutes are going to come in. But you look at Matisse Thybulle. This guy's 23 years old. Tyrese Maxey's 20. That's a major difference in terms of NBA. And I just don't know if Tyrese Maxey is going to be able to step in and provide that same defensive impact that Matisse could possibly bring. This guy, Matisse Thybulle has been doing it on all stages since the college career. This guy broke the Pac-12 single season record for steals held by Jason Kidd. He also ranked 8th nationally with 83 blocks. He became the only player the past 2 decades in college to record at least 100 steals, and 80 blocks. That defensive impact can't be understated. So in terms of like a championship level role player, that's what you get with Matisse. And if that shot becomes consistent from the perimeter, I think that is it's definitely a prize, and maybe a little underrated, I think.
I do have a question for you guys then. With that, do you think that, like, I know Jason, something we talked about Tyrese Maxey was that his free throw percentage showed that he is very capable of a good 3-point shot eventually.
Right.
Being that Matisse Thybulle shoots about, I think it's like 65% from the free throw line, does that worry you at all with his mind you, he didn't shoot that many free throws for us, but I don't remember off the top of my head what it was in college for him. But does his, based on his shot, does that concern you at all?
So
the reason I say no, real quick, Joey, is that having watched him so much in practices and warm-ups, his form is just much better than I would have thought when he was drafted. I think the free throw line has a lot of variables for a rookie. He's probably a 72% guy from the 3-point line, but he's such an active defender. You have to factor in like being winded or fatigue or 20,000 people, all the different things that might have been going on with him as a rookie. So I like his form from 3. It's not a concern for me.
And if I may,
it's not a. Oh, go right ahead.
Sorry. I just wanted to follow up with that from what I was asking him. With that, like, something I noticed with his jump shot specifically is that whenever he was on balance, like he seemed to be able to get it. It just if he was a little bit off running into a corner, something like that is what I really noticed. So that's why I was asking about the form. But sorry, go ahead, Joey.
But yeah, I mean, no one should really be that concerned because when he was in college, his first 3 years he was shooting right around 38% overall through his first 3 years of college on a pretty good free throw percentage too. He was, his freshman year he shot 71% from free throw range, then 84% from free throw on his free throws his sophomore year, and then back to 71% as a junior. And then his senior year was what really started to make people worried about his ability as a shooter because he dropped off to 30% from 3-point range. But he also shot 85% from the free throw line. So the shot, he's clearly capable of being an elite, consistent shooter. But I wouldn't be too worried about his future viability as a shooter overall, because he's shown that he's fully capable of being at that level.
I think when we think about Tyrese Maxey, we really have to have a discussion around what position we think he plays.
Yeah.
Because if we think he's developing to be a point guard, then they should send him to Delaware and really get 30 minutes a night playing point guard.
Yep.
I personally think he could develop into a point guard because I actually like Shake in that two guard role a little bit more than the 1. And obviously, who knows? Maybe he could prove me wrong this year, being that he's going to have the keys to the second team. Mm-hmm. But from all I can see, like him running that 2-guard spot, like I honestly think he could be better than Seth on spot up threes. I really do. I think he could be better than Seth on spot up threes, and I think Seth could run perfectly off the bench for us. So I think it's going to be interesting. Maybe I'm proved wrong this year, but him at that 2-guard spot looks real nice to me.
If you get rid of Matisse, the Sixers don't have a clearly above average defense anymore. And then Coyle says, how many Furkan minutes, 0 to 5? We're not touching that. We are not touching that. That is a whole
Can we go back to the Matisse one? Can we go back?
Everybody brings him up. He comes up in press conferences 3 times a week by other people unprompted. It's going to be way more than 0 to 5 minutes.
Yeah.
Can we go back up to the above average defense comment that you were talking about? Even if we didn't have Matisse, I think this team would easily still have above average defense. I mean, yes, you don't have that guy who's simply just known for that coming off your bench, but you still have Terrence Ferguson, who's known to be a very high level defender. You still have Ben Simmons, who is considered one of the best defenders in the league. You still got Joel back behind you. Danny Green, who isn't the same defender as he was, is still a competent defender. So you still do have guys you can put out on the court that are good defenders. So I don't really agree with that comment.
I think.
Hey, I want to respond to this right here. I went to school with Eddie Jones. Shot a basketball in the same gym with Eddie Jones, and it's not a fair comparison. Eddie Jones was like ridiculously talented basketball player, like crazy, insanely talented player. If you go back through his stats in the NBA, maybe you don't think about Eddie Jones that much, but I just don't think Matisse has the finer skills, the touch, the feel for the game offensively that an Eddie Jones had. I think that would be like best, super great potential. But let's not forget, Matisse is not 20. He's not 19. He's a second-year player, but, you know, he's 23 or 24 now.
23.
He doesn't have the same – if he hasn't developed the feel for the basketball by now, it's going to be incremental improvements, most likely. He's just not going to get to Eddie Jones level basketball. Like, Eddie Jones would be probably an all-star in the current NBA.
Also, might I add, Eddie Jones had maybe the worst luck of any NBA star-level player. Lost his spot to Kobe, so he missed out on the Lakers dynasty, and then loses his spot to D. Wade and gets dealt before they win a title.
Yeah.
Worst luck of any elite player I've ever seen in my life.
Insanely talented player. I watched him here's a quick Eddie Jones story. He used to wear these, I don't know if you guys remember, they used to have these shoes that had these lifts. Instead of like the heel, they had it on the ball of your foot. It was like a 4-inch thing, and it was intended to increase your vertical leap. And he would go to the gym with these and shoot threes. And I watched him drain 11 straight 3-pointers in those reversed heeled shoes, basically on the balls of his feet. The guy was like, when I say ridiculously talented, I've watched a ton of NBA players live. Eddie Jones is one of the best pure talents I've ever seen in person.
Coyle says, I just love to poke the fur can bear. We had a pod recently, the Faithful Fanatic.
Aaron McKee would be a great upside, by the way.
Yeah.
If he could become Aaron McKee, that would be awesome.
Yeah, man. Hell yeah.
Who I also went to school with.
Go Temple, baby. We had a pod, the Faithful Fanatics, and what one person was a little hostile towards Furkan Korkmaz, and man, that pod blew up. We have a very strong Furkan Korkmaz fan base here at the Painted Lines. It is absolutely hilarious. MPC Smith 1 says, if Matisse shows up this season and takes the next step offensively, he could shatter our expectations. The comp is Covington, but a better finisher at the rim. Over under 3-point percentage this year. Let's go 39.5. You're up, Joey.
I'm taking that under. I think if he just is around 37-38%, I think that's more than what the Sixers would need out of him as far as output goes.
Justin.
I want to say over so bad because I want him to be over, but like I just don't think it's going to happen. I don't think he's going to be shooting a lot of threes this year just because of the amount of 3-point shooters we brought in. So I think just because the lower amount that he's probably going to be under.
What about you, Jace?
I think under. He is going to mostly shoot corner threes, so you probably get a little bit of a bump, but really, if he can shoot 36%, you should be happy with all the other stuff he does.
Nothing but Sixers joining says, and we'll wrap this up with this question because we've already done a lot of pods. Check out all our other videos on this. Do you think the Sixers have a chance at a title this year? My opinion, I see the Sixers right around that like 4th, fifth seed this year. I think, however, unlike last year, we could see more efficiency on both ends, and that kind of snowball into a better playoff performance. We're not going to get swept this year. I think there could be a realistic scenario where they add a piece after the trade deadline and look really good come playoff time. I say they have a chance. Do I expect them to win a title? No. What about you, Joey?
Also, keep an eye out on that mid-level exception. Morey hasn't used it yet, and all the speculation out there is that he might use it for a buyout, midway through the season. But
he did use a little bit of it for Isaiah Joe, I believe.
Oh, really?
Yeah, okay. Yeah, true. But still, they could definitely pick up a high-level role guy with the amount that's left. But as far as title goes, I am very, very bullish on them as a 3 seed this season, just because the shadows of the 27-18 team that won 52 games. I mean, they resemble that team so much, but possibly a better version of that team. So I see no reason why they can't, leapfrog back up to the 3rd seed. They definitely won't get swept in the first round like they did last year. I mean, injuries willing, and I think that they can definitely win a playoff series. After that, I have to see how the rest of the season pans out, because I don't want to get too ahead of myself, because we just don't know what could happen in like a week. You know what I mean?
Justin, are the Sixers title contenders?
I think yes. I think it's very possible they can get there. Like I said, like everyone's saying, I think you have to see what they're going to do, because there's a lot of rumors going around right now about a certain somebody and the possibility of coming to the Sixers. He might have played for the Rockets for a while. So I don't know. I mean, if that happens, I'm going to say damn straight, yes, we have a very good chance. But I'm not sure. It's going to be interesting. This year is going to be so much fun to watch. That's kind of how I'm going into it. I'm going into it saying this year is going to be so much fun to watch. I'm excited to see what happens. If it goes well, great. If not, we'll see. We'll see.
Jason.
Honestly.
Yeah, I think so. I think they have the right coach. They have the right management that understands what they'll have, knows what they'll need at the trade deadline. They're very attractive, I think, in the buyout market for guys that are bought out of bad teams. I think they have the right opportunity. So I do think they have a chance. But really, they might get to the trade deadline, and instead of going after the James Harden, maybe they go after the next James Harden, and they go after a guy that's young on a team where he's got maybe being held back by 2 other stars, but somebody with insane upside that they could add. So, I feel like they could go a lot of different ways this year. If they decide to push all in, I think they probably match up best with the Western Conference contenders. They probably match up better than Milwaukee does with those teams. The Nets have to get past the Kyrie Irving nonsense, but the Nets, in theory, are really tough when Kyrie and KD are going to be cooking. I don't expect the Heat to be a contender again. So, they have a chance.
I have a question for Jason real quick. With you saying that of the possibility that, who knows, maybe they find their own James Harden who's stuck behind some players. Who do you have anybody specifically in mind that you think of with that?
It's something I've been kicking around in my head the last couple of days. And what I haven't done is really gone through team by team and seen and really tried to analyze who that would be. Because I don't think it's like – I got in a back and forth today about SGA. And I don't think an SGA is that level of potential player. I think a lot of people consider the OKC really winning the PG3 trade because of him. But I I haven't really gone through to see who that player might be. But Karis LeVert, I love Karis LeVert, but he's been hurt a lot. He's a little. He's what's he? 25 or 26 now.
Is he that old? I didn't realize he was that old.
Yeah, I think he was an old rookie. I think he was like a 21, 22-year-old rookie. So,
Devontae Graham.
I love Karis LeVert. The Devontae Graham. This is the kind of team you'd be able to maybe hide some of his limitations on.
I like Devontae Graham.
Yeah, like him a lot. He's not a James Harden level talent. No. James Harden, that was a really unique case. I don't know that it's out there, but it might be.
And here we go for comment of the day. It is bench Jalen Hurts, start Ben Simmons at quarterback. Oh my gosh, that is so terrific. Let's go to final thoughts, and then we'll do plugs. My final thought, Jay, you're killing me, man. My final thought from this pod is that Connor Johnson might not be back for the Blue Coats.
Yeah, I don't think so.
That's something you and I were talking about too, Chris.
I know. That's really sad.
But remember, he was very much tied with Brett Brown. He was Brett Brown's video assistant for 4 years before becoming a coach. He's part of that family. So I think most likely he's out.
All right. Jason, final thoughts.
I just want to thank everybody for continuing to tune in. Please subscribe. Please tell your friends. Subscribers really, really, really do help us. And I appreciate every one of you who tunes in, comments. We love the comments, even the nasty ones. We love them. So just thank you to everyone.
Don't talk about, don't hate on Furkan on this channel. I'm just telling you. Justin, any final thoughts before we get into plugs?
I mean, I'm excited to see what Matisse turns into this year. I'm excited to see what he comes with. He has been saying that he was working really hard on his game while he was in the offseason. So, mind you, the offseason was short. I'm excited about it. And I also, same boat as Jason, like I'm really grateful for being able to be on this pod, be on this channel, and I'm excited to see what comes of it. Like he said, subscribe, like the video, comment below. I'll be down there commenting back. So,
all right. What about you, Joey?
Looking forward to more Matisse vlogs throughout the season. That's something we didn't even address. I mean, he's an elite content. He's an elite content creator just out of nowhere.
Yeah, sir.
So
he's box office. He's box office, guys.
He'll be in TV once his career's
over. I mean, from his first from draft night on, he said he loves photography. He let us know right away as soon as he was drafted, and he's turned that into cinematography. It's really cool.
Didn't he get on the Jimmy Kimmel show or something crazy?
I don't know.
He was on Jimmy Fallon. Yeah,
Jimmy Fallon.
Jimmy Fallon.
Man,
I think his family clearly loves art. They named him Matisse, right? I don't think that's an accident. I mean, he's named after a great artist. So, yeah.
All right, Joey. Anything you want to plug, bro?
Just follow me on Twitter or don't at Jody_6 and just subscribe to the channel. I mean, we got content out pretty much every single day at this point. And subscribe. It helps us, and just do it. That's all I got.
Just nice sponsor. You can follow me on Twitter at J_Persichetti if you would like to. A lot of times I'll live tweet games sometimes. Sometimes I'll just post content that we're posting. And go follow the Painted Lines Twitter because I tweet a lot off that account. Subscribe to the channel, like the video. It does help a lot, like they said. And you'll see us again. We're doing all player previews for the team. So come back whenever you see it.
Maybe?
Can we just take a second to acknowledge Justin's fresh one? Got that hair done. He's looking camera ready tonight.
Yeah, listen, I literally got
that Paul George hairline going.
Yeah.
Not me.
I got the cut at 11 this morning, and I was like, "Am I gonna wear my headphones today?" For I was like, I'm not.
It's too nice.
I gotta show up the cut.
That's absolutely right.
Could have got a little more fader, but it still rocks.
Wintertime. It's winter.
My girl likes it. I can't help it.
Marky215 says, "Am I late?" Yes, we are wrapping this show up. But make sure you subscribe, hit those notifications. We're also doing a Joel Embiid preview show tomorrow, so make sure you check that out. The stream's already there. Justin will be there. I don't know who else is going to be there, but we'll see.
Hey, by the way, Marky, put the notifications on. I was looking today at our analytics. Only 13% of our subscribers have their notifications turned on. We're going live a lot. A lot of our stuff is live in the moment. We want you here interacting with us. Turn your notifications on so you know that when we're live, you can come in and you can comment, joke around, make fun of us, argue with us, all of that stuff. Turn
Also,
those notifications on.
If you follow us on Twitter as well, we do post on Twitter when we're going to be going on, usually a day in advance at least. So if you do that, you'll be able to know for sure. If you cannot watch it live, don't worry. It is still on the channel. You can go back and watch it afterwards.
Yes, sir. Yes, sir. Jason, anything you want to plug, man? No. No.
All
right. My turn. I am going to plug the Fired Up podcast, which is coming up at 8 p.m. East Coast time, roughly 2 hours from now. If you love the Philadelphia Flyers, I think it was January 13th. They're looking to start the NHL season and all that. They're going to get into Phil Myers and his brand new 3-year contract extension. Tomorrow we have a Joel Embiid season preview pod, roughly noon. I don't know if we can kind of confirm that time, but we will see. And then join us for a therapy session during the Eagles versus Saints. Myself.
I don't know if I'd call it a therapy session.
It's kind of just a bitch session where everyone just goes on and just yells about how much they hate the Eagles right now. So just come out if you want to complain.
Yeah, in the Catholic Church, they call that self-flagellation.
If you want to see
NFL
kingdoms go on sale, just join that stream.
It's essentially a bunch of old men yelling at the sky. And it's about we just say the same things. We've been doing this for a while now, especially on Party on Broad, where we just complain and bitch about the same things over and over and over again. And Chris Coyle, my man, says it keeps you from breaking your TV. That is 100% fact. I promise you, if you watch with us, you're going to have fun. You're going to laugh rather than cry. We're pretty real here. I think we have a really, really fun group. We're very realistic. We're not homers. We tell it like it is. So that will be starting around 3:45 East Coast time. We'll be watching the Eagles versus Saints. Jalen Hurts first start. And I'm telling you guys, if we see Jalen Hurts roll out, Miles Sanders, 20 or more carries, I'm going to be crazy tomorrow. I will be crazy. So that will be worth the watch.
I do want to say
it will be so toxic.
I'm going to
can we do, because I'm not going to be on that stream. Really like what I saw with Hurts in sort of a trash time situation. Do we think that there's not enough tape on him yet for opposing teams to exploit his weaknesses? Or do we worry about maybe over 60 minutes, some of his issues might be exploited?
They're going to get exploited. You have the Saints, who are the best man coverage defense in the NFL, and they're going to pick apart Jalen Hurts like crazy. You saw Jalen Hurts be successful in those couple of drives when the Packers were playing just soft defense. They were giving him whatever he wanted. And when they actually became a game, they tightened up the defense and they hit him 3 times in how many dropbacks. I love Jalen Hurts. I'm rooting for the kid. I'm not this Jalen Hurts hater, Nick Foles hater, Carson Wentz hater. I want to see the team succeed, but I have to keep my realistic hat on. That Saints defense is super underrated.
It is going to be,
and they're ranked.
It's going to be a bloodbath.
They're underrated and they're ranked first.
Are they really ranked first?
Yeah.
I didn't even know they were ranked first.
Second question: has there ever been anything more predictable ever in the history of the earth than Jason Peters getting hurt and missing the rest of the year at some point?
No, it's Jason. It was Deshaun Jackson. You forgot that.
Yeah.
Well, I called that one. Did I not call that one way before the season? Did I not on a party on Broad say, are we sure he's not just stealing money?
Yeah,
Are you ever planning on playing?
that was like 2 months before the season started.
When I loved Deshaun Jackson growing up, and so did my dad. When we saw that the Eagles signed him, or traded for him and then signed him, my dad was like, dude, he's gonna play like 5 games for this team. And I was like, why do you say that? He's like, you know how often that guy has gotten injured throughout his career? And I think he's legit played like 2 games, like actual whole games. I think he's played 2 games for us.
And then when he comes back, he gets hurt again.
Mm-hmm.
This is just revenge for Chip Kelly.
Yeah,
getting him shipped out. That's all this is.
It's so sad because he's so good. It's so sad.
Coyle says, can we get back Rob's kids? Rob will be joining us tomorrow. Don't you worry. I think it's Dylan, me, Matt, Rob. I don't know. Are you guys joining? Anybody?
I may join at times.
You're all welcome just to pop in for 15 minutes and whatever. But
yeah, I may do that. I sometimes have to watch the game by myself to like make sure I'm seeing everything and then react to it.
I get it. Coyle says it's going to be what we've been seeing all year. Quarterback running around for his life. And then Markey 215, they might as well let Hurts play the rest of the year and fix the O-line in the offseason. That is 100% what's going to happen. All right, we're going to wrap this up finally. 8 p.m. East Coast time. Check out the Flyered Up podcast. They're going to be talking about everything, the latest news and headlines with the Philadelphia Flyers and NHL hockey. Remember, hit your notifications. Make sure you subscribe. Smash that like button. This is TPL Live for Jason, for Justin, for Joey, for myself. Thanks for watching, guys. Stay awesome.